It's the 11th of September 2025. Thank you for being here. Welcome to all the new subscribers. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. All right, let's get right to it. Your time is valuable. This is the area that is going to strengthen in the North Atlantic and then head into Western Europe. In particular, we're looking over toward Ireland, the UK, Belgium, the Netherlands for some higher impacts, even Norway and Sweden, not only for rain, but some strong winds out of this. And even some of those swells will be working in higher seas, Portugal, Spain, France. So lots to cover in this video. I'll do my best to cover all of this, but the Atlantic region of Canada right now, this is the area that is going to roll across the North Atlantic, and as it does, it is going to strengthen. Now, it's not the biggest system we've had or anything like that. I really want to keep things in perspective, but it's an impactful system, rather large. It has slowed up a little bit. So when I joined you yesterday, it looked like it may squeak in, say, to Ireland by Saturday night, kind of overnight, early Sunday. It's a little bit slower by about 6 to 12 hours. So we'll cover that time frame, but generally staying on track as a whole from what I showed you. But I do want to get into some of the changes and more of the specifics in this video. So as we work our way into tomorrow, this will be generally south of Greenland, coming off of Newfoundland and the Avalon Peninsula, and then south of Greenland, Iceland, as we work our way into Saturday. Sunday, just slowing a touch, very close to Ireland, Scotland at that point, and then eventually just working right across over toward the North Sea. So we'll see some substantial rain, parts of Norway, as I mentioned, trying to get into Sweden, even Denmark, watching northern sections of Germany back through the Netherlands and Belgium, as I mentioned. We'll see some impacts out of this as this starts to work across. Now, out ahead of it, there are a couple other systems that we're watching. Some of us right now are dealing with some heavy rain in some spots. So I've also been monitoring that, kind of an active pattern as we would expect. So in this sector here, this is where we'll see some of the stronger weather as a whole. We're looking at some of the gusts. Now, keeping it in perspective, these gusts are mainly along the coast where this starts to work in. So we're talking about Scotland south back through Ireland in particular, but also Wales over toward England. We could get some stronger winds, Northern Ireland. So we're looking at some of the gusts about 60 miles per hour. Close to 100 kilometers an hour, isolated power loss. Again, not the biggest system we've had, but we could run into a few problems with some branches down. And just as this progresses over toward, say, Sweden, we're going to see some heavier rain and even some storms on the front side of this as this moves in. So watching southern portions of Finland, watching near Helsinki, for example, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, we'll be watching out for the potential of eventually some heavier rain. Not winds quite this strong, but eventually some of the rain working in. Let me give you a snapshot of this, and then I'll show you the system in motion. You could see this is a 5-day rain total. So this is taking us all the way through the weekend into early next week. And I'll zoom down in just a moment with some 3-day rain totals for all of us across Europe. We've got everyone covered, but you can see some of the totals. Some of this kind of almost black shading showing up. You see near Norway, close to Denmark. Watching that near the Netherlands and Belgium, we could get some spots of 150 millimeters of rain. A few spots could get higher. This is not all with the system, the main system we're tracking. I mentioned there's additional systems out ahead of it. So 5-day rain total, this is taking into account a couple systems. The spin we have right now, for example, and then the new one coming in. So for a 5-day total, that's pretty substantial, especially for many of us coming off a very, very dry period. So getting a look at what we have. Let me start wide. I'll zoom down with the winds and then the rain. And then we'll go country by country with some of the rain totals. You can see this initial spin. That's what I was mentioning. We have a first kind of storm system around, a little bit weaker, but some gusty winds by Iceland, especially on the north side, coming out of Greenland. But this is the system we'll be watching. You see some of the reds popping up. Those are gusts around 70 miles per hour. Just to give you an idea, it's a healthier system. It's a large system that we'll be working in. And then you can see it right here, the center of this, as we work our way Sunday into Monday, moving right across Scotland, for example, over toward the North Sea, closing in on Norway and Denmark at that point. And the strong winds will be staying with us even as we work our way into early next week. And we'll get some of that, even northwestern sections of France along the water. We're going to get some gusty winds out of this, 40, 50 miles per hour, or upwards of 80 kilometers an hour. And we'll see that as well as we work our way back through Belgium and the Netherlands, some higher winds, and then lifting up toward Denmark. Here's the closer look at some of this, and this is jumping ahead, right? You see the time frame here. So this is by Saturday. Watching this, it's slowed up just a touch. So as we go forward in time here, this is Sunday morning. Sunday morning, we'll know something's kind of coming. Winds will be howling in some spots. Watching over toward Ireland, here's the donut hole, the center of this area of low pressure, center of a storm system. And you can see how the center of this works very close as we work our way through the day Sunday. So conditions as a whole, Ireland and the UK, they'll go downhill on Sunday, no doubt. Stronger winds, heavier rain, giving you the heads up. Very sloppy weather as we work our way into Sunday, isolated power outages, and then this moves right across Northern Ireland, swinging back toward Scotland, watching this kind of work its way across England, and then we'll get those gustier winds. You can see here we go in France, we swing back toward Belgium, the Netherlands, right up through Denmark, kind of clipping by northwestern sections of Germany with some of those gusts that could be around 50 miles per hour, 80 kilometers an hour. Again, that is favoring the water just inland, along the water just inland. They're not going to be nearly as strong. So this is what's going on for tonight. That first storm system leaves. Another mini system moves in. That's why I mentioned a multitude of storm systems that are headed our way. So tomorrow morning, watching out for some of that rain, or excuse me, tomorrow evening, some of that rain back through Ireland, for example. Look at those yellows. That's some heavier rain. That's not the big storm system, but kind of setting the stage. And then you see by Saturday, that's going to be working its way over toward Denmark and then south back toward France, seeing some of those showers, even a couple thunderstorms. But here comes the bigger system. This here is by Sunday morning. I mentioned the strong winds in Ireland. Well, there's some of the rain that's going to be with it. The area of low pressure right here. The yellows would be some heavier rain. The greens and darker greens, some moderate rainfall. And of course, a lot of this is wind driven. Gusty winds with it, so this will kind of peel its way back toward Wales, swinging back toward England as we go throughout the day on Sunday, and then lifting to the north. The center of this just kind of crossing right over Ireland, swinging back toward Scotland, and then working its way over toward the North Sea. And this here is on Monday, backside, still some gusty winds, showery, if you will, on Monday, and then we'll see some heavier weather, and I'll expand out the view here. You can still see some of that rain. You see back toward Amsterdam as we work our way into Monday. It's going to be a sloppy day. So a couple systems we're watching. This is the main one, okay? So here's the main one, watching a couple systems out ahead of it. We have that spin around today for some of us, another one kind of in between, and then being mindful of the thunderstorms that I was tracking for you a few videos ago that did roll through with that severe weather anywhere from Italy back through Czechia. We had some big storms, Croatia, so I've been watching that. Now, as we work our way into tomorrow, here's the next storm system, but there's that little mini one out ahead of it. Iceland, I mentioned some active weather. Monitoring that, especially northern coast. That's where we're going to see some of the stronger weather. And then as we work our way into Sunday, you see it with me here, or Saturday, excuse me, you see it here. Here is this storm system moving in. The first one will bring some thunderstorms again. You see some of those breaking out. So watching over toward France, even over toward Andorra, eastern sections of Spain getting clipped by some storms, and then Italy. But as we work our way into Sunday, there it is. There's that storm system moving in. Not the biggest of storm systems, but an impactful day on Sunday as this moves in. Out ahead of it, Sweden south, all the way through Bulgaria, even as far south as Greece. There could be a couple thunderstorms around, so you get kind of the leading edge. This just gives a lift of some air. Not quite associated with that system, but watching some storms out ahead of it. And then you could see the spin that is around as we work our way into Monday. And then here's another system, which could be similar in strength, so not the biggest we've seen, but something to definitely track as we work our way into next week. A couple kind of larger systems that we'll be dealing with. So busy weather pattern, no doubt. Got you covered right here. So I do appreciate you sharing this channel. Thank you for doing that with your friends, family, and your community. Look how the seas correspond to all of this. Of course, it's been a mess. I mentioned the couple storm systems out ahead of the main one, so the elevated seas. This here is on Saturday, but as we work our way into Sunday, you see everything kind of blowing up in the water, those swells working into France, Portugal, Spain, and then those higher seas, including the North Sea, as we work our way into Monday as the storm system arrives. Now, looking at the 3-day rain totals, this and through here, that chance of some thunderstorms. I mentioned that watching near Andorra, Barcelona, we'll see that. Could clip us in Valencia, mainly to the north. watching the islands, of course, across the Mediterranean, seeing that chance of a couple of thunderstorms. And if we get some of these storms in here, we could get some spots getting about 50 millimeters of rain. So that's kind of what we're looking at with some of the thunderstorms that will be around. Of course, this here with a few of the storm systems moving in, enhanced earlier in the video, though I showed you that 5-day rain total. That includes the bigger storm system that will be moving in. So this just takes us through the weekend, but as we work our way into Sunday and Monday, I showed you that earlier in the video. So the Atlantic system is on the way, a touch slower in speed. That's why I broke down the time frame for you. Sunday into Tuesday as this works its way from west to east, the gusty winds, flooding will be likely in spots. We'll see some substantial runoff, monitoring the flooding, isolated power outages, and of course, watching hurricane season. It's about to get more active in the Atlantic basin. We'll be covering that together as well. So be safe with some of the storms around. I'll be watching your comments, going through those. Let me know if you got some good weather, some bad weather. Put your location. We'll be going through those over the next few days. I hope you're doing well.